Hi. So for my primary source, I'm using the Interium Regis Riccardi, which I found off the Fordham website that Professor Goshgarian gave us in the beginning at the library. So it's it's compiled by Richard de Templo, and it appears to actually have been written by a soldier in the crusading army between the years of 1191 and 1192. But it was most likely compiled around 1217 or 1222. And it's written it's a narrative of the Third Crusade, and it's written primarily in Latin. So this source is particularly useful to me because I'm going to be writing about Richard the Lionheart and his crusade, and particularly about the legends associated with it, like with him and his crusade, because a lot of legends have been made based off of his actions at the Crusades. And the quote that I chose from this primary source reads, "The king was moved by pity. He made the emperor arise and sit beside him. When the king caused the emperor's daughter to be brought down to see him, the emperor was unspeakably overjoyed. He embraced her affectionately and insatiably kissed her many times, while tears flowed freely. This took place on Friday after the feast of St. Augustine and before Pentecost. Richard cast the emperor into chains, not of iron, but of silver." So I think that quote's particularly useful to me because I'm trying to get people's opinions on Richard and at the time, and I think it kind of shows some compassion from Richard, so I think it's a useful quote. And then a book that's not exactly a primary source, but I'm going to be using for my paper is this book. It's about the legends of Richard. And so it's written by Bradford B. Broughton, and it's a compilation of primary sources, and the author uses these primary sources to find out how these legends came about and how they are furthered and still exist even today. So I'm going to read a quote from the book, and this quote refers to Richard's possession of the Excalibur sword, which is famously associated with King Arthur. And the quote reads, "The Gesta Henrici was the first work to associate the fabulous sword of the mighty King Arthur with Richard, by relating that Richard gave this priceless weapon to Tancred as a gesture of peace. Others followed its lead. Roger of Hoven repeated the same story, but added a date upon which the gift was given. Other chroniclers recorded it in their chronicles, and thereby helped the story to gain popularity and credence." So I think this is just an example of how a legend was created of Richard, and how it's furthered by more primary sources holding this true and using it in their writings. Okay, thanks.